and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
It's time for the Sports Blitz, the only live-streamed local sports show in Arkansas, with all the latest on the sports stories that matter to you. Live from the Lions Den Golf Club studio, here are your hosts, Mark Freeman and Weldon Braxton.
Welcome into the one and only Sports Blitz of the week. First show we've had since last Friday. Appreciate you taking time out of a holiday week to join us here today, rivervalleyleader.com, in the Cogswell Motors Studios. Weldon Braxton, Maddie Lassiter, I'm Mark Freeman. Thank you once again. We've got a lot of stuff to hit today, Weldon. We're going to have a wire-heavy day as we look at the big topics in sports. I'm sure we'll definitely get to some Hogs stuff. We've got some local high school basketball and a lot of good stuff to talk about today.
Yeah, big one for at least the Russellville Cyclones. I know last night in basketball. We'll talk about that. But Mark, you're right. It's our first day of the week. We took the Christmas holiday off. Hope you had a good one with you and your family out there. But so much is going on. NFL, the playoff scenarios are starting to round into shape, or at least we can say that. There's still a number of scenarios. We're talking about first-round buys on the line to teams that could even miss the playoffs altogether. So we'll try to get you through some of those scenarios and how things may go. Had basketball on Christmas Day, Mark. New fashion statement from the NBA. They're trying to get something across with the new uniforms. If you have not seen what the NBA is pushing, now this isn't going to be a permanent thing yet, although I think the league is trying to migrate towards that direction. But the NBA wore these jersey shirt type uniforms for their Christmas Day games, basically tight jerseys with sleeves on them. NBA is trying to market that, Mark. So we got so much going on. That's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, those jerseys were hideous, man. I've only heard one person say they like them. I just don't like them, for one, because it makes these monstrous guys look like they're like kids wearing a tight T-shirt. Somebody was talking about a medium, and somebody said an extra medium shirt for these guys because they're just like super tight T-shirts that they're wearing. And I know from playing, I can't shoot with sleeves on. It just messes with me, or short sleeves on, because I can shoot with a long sleeve and it's not that bad, but a sleeve right here, it just messes with my. I don't know. It messes with my form somewhere.
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't know how those guys, but there was a negligible difference in shooting percentage. So that's what they're hanging their hat on. But it's a pretty small sample size. It's one day.
Yeah, one day is not a big sample size. And I think it may have been Darren Harrell. Somebody tweeted about how the main reason the NBA is going towards this is because they believe they can sell more jerseys. Like, you can't just wear a jersey without a T-shirt underneath, in public. But they think with these jersey shirts now, if the players are wearing them, then it's easy to transition that into a mass marketing type shirt that people can just buy and say, hey, I'm wearing an actual jersey, and it's not really a big deal like a jersey. That's supposed to be the angle behind it.
Well, I think they're hideous.
I do too.
It's just me, so we'll see if that ends up being a thing in the next couple of years, but it's going to take a little while for the NBA. I think Silver, the new commissioner, he's got his hands full with a lot of stuff. Fixing the lottery, we talked about that before the show. The jersey situation's got to be the last thing on his mind. Having teams in certain markets is probably one thing that he wants to figure out. I'm sure that there are teams that he wished didn't exist also. The Fighting Michael Jordans need to go bye-bye. And
the Hornets now,
I think that,
right?
yeah. I think
logo?
that would, that's going to help a little bit.
But
that just maybe, I don't know, maybe just ask Michael Jordan to sell the team and go away. Why don't you go make some underwear commercials, please? Because you're a terrible owner.
Go rip the tag off some stuff and throw it on the barbecue grill. Go do something like that.
Just do something. Just gamble. I don't cheat on your wife. Whatever you feel like doing. I'm not a big Michael Jordan as a fan. Great player, but anyway.
Cheat on you. Oh.
Yeah, he did.
And he's having twins, too. Did you hear about that?
The dynamic duo, huh?
Yeah, Michael Jordan. I know what some people are thinking. Like, what is Michael Jordan with his old self doing trying to have some kids?
50 years old?
I know that's what some people were thinking. But, hey, maybe they'll turn out. He had, his son played at Central Florida. Obviously, he didn't pan out. So maybe the twins will come through.
The guy played D1 basketball. It's all right. And he's not Michael Jordan.
I was going to say, the bar is set pretty high.
Yeah, I was going to say, he can't be that good. So, we'll see. 20 years from now, Michael may not even get to watch his kids play college ball because he's 50. So we'll see. He'll be 70 some odd years old when they get out of college.
And he'll still think he can play too. That's
I'm sure
what
he
funny
would.
about it.
Come on out here and get a whipping from your daddy. We'll see how that turns out for him. A couple things in the wire before we move on to our Peters Family Living local sports look. Tony Romo.
Yeah.
Season-ending back surgery. We wondered if he was going to be able to make it. Had that epidural, and it wasn't because he was pregnant and having a baby. It was because his back was out, and he has the surgery. Jason Garrett announces that he is done. So now they've got Kyle Orton. Oh, good Lord. They're going to get killed by the Eagles, and it's fine with me that Romo doesn't play because I thought they were going to lose anyway, and at least this takes the sting out of it. And if they win, it was like, whatever, anyway. They're not going to win the Super Bowl. They'd get drilled in the first round of the playoffs anyway. Probably have to go to Seattle or something like that in the first round of the playoffs if they did make it. So Tony Romo out. Doesn't have that much of an impact for me, but kind of stinks for a guy who played pretty well the last couple games of the season. Aside from a couple plays here and there, he had a fairly efficient season. And I know he was Tony Romo, and it's just the way, sometimes he make terrible decisions at moments that he didn't need to. But I think he changed a lot of people's mind about his toughness by trying to play through and getting that win in Week 16 to make Week 17 worth anything.
Well, Tony Romo, you've mentioned he had the epidural. You're right. He's definitely not having a kid. He has his lovely wife, the former Miss Missouri, to do those things. But with Tony Romo, right, Mark, you're right about his toughness. I mean, he's big time. I know people want to criticize his game and criticize some of the mistakes he made, but he's always been a big time player to me. I understand big moments. I endorse that 100% as far as holding him accountable. But Tony Romo can flat out play. One person I have to give a lot of credit to, Mark, and this is something that you can speak to more than I can. I got to give Adam Schefter some credit because he was taking some heat early in the week. He came out and said, "Look, Tony Romo is out. Period." The Cowboys wouldn't announce that. Jason Garrett refuted that report all week long. This was like a few days that Adam Schefter was kind of hanging out there. But he's one of the best reporters in the business. He had his source. His source told him Romo was out. The Cowboys did a lot of window dressing, make it seem like there was a chance he could play. And maybe he could have, but Adam Schefter stuck by his guns. And, of course, Mark, it's come out today that Romo is officially out, and now things are turned over to Kyle Orton. And obviously, Tony Romo gives you the best chance to win. But Kyle Orton, to his credit, I'll give him this. You talk about backup quarterbacks. You talk about how, as a GM, you don't put a whole amount of your budget into the backup quarterback position. He is one of the better ones you can have, but I'm with you. I don't think it'll make a whole lot of difference. Still think they're in trouble against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Their second-string quarterback is going to be John Kitna.
John Kitna.
$50,000 for 1 week, and he's going to donate that salary to the school he's teaching algebra at.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sounds like one of those movie storylines where the guy's going to come in, something's going to happen to Kyle Orton, and he's going to come in and lead him to victory.
Yeah.
But not just to victory, to the Super Bowl, and then who knows what happens after
John
that.
Kitna comes in.
Oh, my gosh. Well, that's a cool story that he's going to donate that money. Obviously, he doesn't need the money probably, but he is teaching. So it's kind of odd that he's taking a teaching salary, and then he's going to donate his football salary. It's like, here, give me less money this year.
Yeah.
Or here, I'll give you this, and you give me that, and this is, I don't know.
I bet the school's like, we could have just not paid you. Or you can we can just stop paying you for a year.
I'm sure they'd be happy with that. So we'll see how John, if he ever gets on the field, he may just get $50,000 to come in and prepare to play, and just hold a clipboard and wear a hat. That's a pretty good gig if you can get it.
And I will say this, Mark, before we move on about this game. I believe the Philadelphia Eagles will win, but you and I talked about this in the pre-show. I'm not of the belief, and I'm talking about the playoffs moving forward, I don't think the Eagles are as great as they looked against the Bears on Sunday night. I know people see that Chip Kelly offense. They think, it's in now. The Oregon offense is finally taking hold. They're about to drop 50 a game from now all the way through the Super Bowl. cool your jets. I think the Bears laid down Sunday night. Still think the Eagles are flawed. Yeah, they can get hot and give people problems, but it wouldn't surprise me if they got in after a win against Dallas and stumped their toe a little bit. It wouldn't even surprise me, as bad as Dallas's defense is, they at least held them to 30-ish, which at this point looks like they could score 60 on the Cowboys. Nick Foles is in place now. Remember when they played earlier in the year, Nick Foles, he played, but he didn't have a strong hold on the starting job. Dallas actually held him to 3 points. I don't think that will happen again.
No, you're probably right. Couple other things here on the wire before we change the order of the show. Nnamdi Asomugha retiring as a Oakland Raider. 2 years after getting a $60 million deal, he went downhill fast. He went from a guy that nobody threw at for a couple of years because it was just he was locking down. It was Revis Island before Revis. And when people figured out, oh, wait, he's not that good.
That's really something.
And they went at him. He went downhill quick. I think it probably had something to do with the scheme, the zone scheme he wasn't real good at, but he was great at man defense. And then whenever he had to think rather than just cover, it went downhill for him pretty quick. And then his skills eroded. He got a little older, and he's not quite what he used to be. He's going to retire, and, it's good that he's going to go out without having to, I know he's got a lot of money, leaving a lot of money on the table most likely, unless somebody was just going to cut him. And they may have already done it, but that shows where I've thought about how much I've thought about Nnamdi Asomugha. But I remember when he was on the open market, and I was like, God, please let Dallas get him, because if the Eagles get him, it's the dream team, and oh my goodness, don't let him go there. And he hasn't really turned into much there in the last couple of years, so he's going to retire. And the big news of the day, though, yesterday is that Aaron Rodgers is going to play the Packers. So as we're talking about the NFL, again, we've got our power rankings later on in the show. Aaron Rodgers comes back, makes the Green Bay Packers a team to be reckoned with come playoff time, because I don't know if he's completely healthy. I would hope that he is before they would put him back out there. But the Packers, there's a chance they're going to have Randall Cobb back. There's a chance that they're going to have Eddie Lacy back. And then to have Aaron Rodgers back, the Packers sort of coming into their own as far as health is concerned. Jermichael Finley's still out. They've still got some injury woes on the defensive side of the ball, but to have Aaron Rodgers and Randall Cobb back would be a pretty big deal.
Well, we saw the Packers in 2010, Mark, and they had an up and down regular season. They got hot and, of course, went on to win the Super Bowl. This team is certainly capable. Eddie Lacy he's provided them a great running game they haven't had in recent years. You look at a weapon like Randall Cobb, if he's able to come back healthy and ready to go, the Green Bay Packers will be a force to be reckoned with. And from a medical standpoint, you kind of feel good about it because the Packers are known for having one of the more conservative medical staffs. I mean, I think some teams around the league may have put Aaron Rodgers out there last week before he was fully ready. The fact that they have the confidence to put him out there this week tells me something. Although Mike McCarthy did sound kind of testy in his press conference after that last game the Packers played. He was like, we got to sit down with Ted Thompson. We got to figure something out, see how we can get Aaron Rodgers back on the field. So I definitely believe Mike McCarthy was probably a little bit pushy this week. But, they're playing the Chicago Bears. It's winner take all. Whoever wins this game wins the division. Whoever loses is sitting at home watching the playoffs. And based on how the Chicago Bears came out and laid down against Philadelphia, I'm actually cheering for Green Bay because the Chicago Bears had the opportunity to win that game and make Aaron Rodgers and coming back all that irrelevant. They could have locked up the division. They not only lost to Philadelphia, they laid down.
Got whipped.
And I kind of hope it comes back to bite them. I really do, and I hope Green Bay wins.
I'm the same way. All right, we're going to let's hit a break. We'll come back with our Peters Family Living local sports look. We've got a lot of teams playing holiday basketball. We've got big wins from the Russellville Cyclones and Lady Cyclones last night in a game about to tip off in 15 minutes. We'll let you know about that. We'll get to our NFL power rankings. Arkansas Razorback basketball. Texas football. We haven't heard any news from the Texas football coaching search. Lots of stuff left on the Sports Blitz. Stay with us.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peters Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville. Online at petersfamilyliving.com or call 479-968-2929.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
here's what you missed.
Updated news.
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
Developing stories.
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
And weather and traffic on the 4s.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on. KRK4 today.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
Back on the Sports Blitz, we want to ask today's CrossFit Russellville poll question. Has to do with the Arkansas Razorback basketball team. The Arkansas Razorback basketball team will make the NCAA tournament if, fill in the blank. Give us a call at 968 News. That's 968-6397. Or visit us on Facebook, facebook.com/RVL News, facebook.com/SportsBlitz. Love to hear what you have to say about today's CrossFit Russellville poll question. Excuse me. We'll get to that here in just a little bit, so give you a little time to consider it. We've got guys like Corey Thone, who he's going to be that guy. He already answered, they win. If they win. I mean,
you know what I told you. I told you.
There's going to be that guy.
It's always somebody.
Well, try to have put a little more thought into it if you can. I can't blame you if you're like Corey and you can't think, though, so just playing. We'll look at our NFL power rankings here in just a little bit, but let's start with our Peters Family Living local sports look. We've got a lot of holiday basketball going on right now. Of course, a lot of these teams didn't play over the holiday, before today because of, obviously, the break. But we had the Russellville Cyclones and Lady Cyclones playing last night in the Lyndall Thomas Classic in Harrison. And the boys and girls both won last night. The boys won 55-53 in overtime, a very exciting game. A couple free throws at the end of the game to win it over Covington, Tennessee. They're going to take on Mariana Lee tonight at 6:15. But again, last night, 19 points and 12 rebounds for Andy Campbell. He's there every single night for the Cyclones, and a couple of big baskets down the stretch when they needed it. This team relies a lot on the three-pointer, but
right.
in a 55-53 game, they had to have played some pretty good defense as well.
They did, Mark. You mentioned Andy Campbell, the top player from that game. And with Russellville, Mark, you're right. It's about 3-point shooting. The shots weren't going down early, and then obviously that kind of bogged the game down, scores low. And when your shots aren't falling, you do have to lean on your defense. Russellville was able to do that, keep themselves in the game, and then eventually shots started to fall. And that's how you want to be. When you're a 3-point heavy team, you want to make sure the other aspects of your game are at full strength no matter what.
And the Lady Cyclones won 54-36 over Earl. I've got a source in Earl said that they're a little down this year, but no, I do know somebody that is from Earl, but they are down a little bit this year in the girls basketball department. But the Lady Cyclones, nothing to take away from them, that they won 54-36 in the Lyndall Thomas Classic. They're going to take on either the host Harrison Lady Goblins or Bergman tonight at 7:30. Don't know who won that game last night. But
I think Harrison.
I figured they would. They're playing at home, and Bergman I think is a kind of a rivalry thing there for Harrison. So Harrison wins, and the Russellville Lady Cyclones will take on the Lady Goblins at 7:30 tonight. It looks like that's going to be the game right after the Russellville boys play. So go up there to the Spook House, what they call it, and watch the Russellville Cyclones and Lady Cyclones. You can get yourself a Friday night full of action, and then you can even, I don't know if you're a night owl, but you can go to Branson and see the lights and drive through if you want. It's only a 20-minute drive from
Mark is telling
Harrison.
our viewers to go get some action on Friday night, so there you go, Mark. Take his advice.
Live internet radio, so we can say what we want. You can get all the action you want tonight if you want. The Clarksville Panthers are going to be taking part in the Spa City Classic. I know the girls are playing somewhere else too, and it has completely slipped my mind where the Lady Panthers are playing, but I know that the boys are playing, tipping off in about 7 minutes against Maumelle at 11:30. But the Panthers, who won the Spa City Classic last year, are going to be playing in a tough tournament this year. They're not quite I talked to Coach Garrett Hill from Pottsville about this, and he said, I don't know that Clarksville is good this year. And I said, well, right now they're definitely not.
Right,
but they weren't ready-made. Last year they had 5 guys that when they came in, you just knew these are the 5 guys. This is the guys you're going to count on. They didn't have much of a bench. They didn't have much of a rotation to speak of. But those 5 guys were going to get it done. Dedrick Lee, a Division I basketball player at Oral Roberts. Devin Sims, who looks like he's going to go to Florida Gulf Coast, another Division I player. They had guys. This year, they're trying to rely on younger guys. Got a freshman playing. They got the transfer Deontay Woodbridge playing. So they're still trying to determine who's going to play, who's going to be counted upon, who's going to contribute. And then, by the end of the year, this team has the potential to be even better because of the fact that they'll move the ball around. They'll have to get contributions from several different people, and especially guys off the bench are going to have to take up the slack a little bit. They've got a chance to be really good, and this tournament's going to go a long way to determining how good they can be. I think they can win this tournament, and the best part about it is that, they won last week. They won a couple games, and then, or I guess it was 2 weeks ago, but the Jonesboro Hurricane Classic was canceled postponed and rescheduled due to the winter weather that was a couple weeks ago, and that was going to be a very good tournament. Jonesboro and some of those teams up there in that area are very, very good. Clarksville won that tournament last year. I would argue that they weren't quite prepared to play in that tournament this year, so the fact that it gets moved down below the Cyclone Classic, Clarksville played, got third in that tournament. They're kind of building blocks into this Spa City Classic, which is a little bit better competition, into the Jonesboro tournament, the Hurricane Classic. It's a good thing for them to kind of stair-step into the conference slate before they play some really good competition.
I definitely agree with that. You look at how they played in the Cyclone Classic. We understand there were some circumstances with that one. Then going to the Spa City Classic, again, better competition, as you said. And then, of course, the Hurricane Classic is kind of like the Mac Daddy of their preseason schedule, and they got to be ready for it. Was it last year they went and won it? Surprising
they beat Jonesboro by 20 on their home court.
Not only did they beat Jonesboro, they beat Jonesboro pretty handily. And so I think with this team, Mark, and you touched on it earlier, it's going to be a little bit different. You got more guys you're leaning on, maybe not quite the definitive star power, at least the top 5 guys. You got a better mix, which at the end of the year, you get that group playing well together. You may be better off from a depth standpoint. Later in the year, we talked about last year against Jacksonville. That game was kind of back and forth. Definitely both teams were fatigued, and maybe I'm sure other things played a factor, but maybe if Clarksville, if they were more rested and had a little bit more energy, they could have pulled that off against Jacksonville. So, the Panthers will still be an elite 5A team, and we'll see how they do moving forward.
Got a deep 5A this year with Forest City, Jacksonville. Actually, I think that the from top to bottom that the 5A West is going to be better than it was last year. Harrison just beat Jacksonville a couple weeks ago, and Harrison, lost to Alex Rose, who scored 43 on Clarksville, and was a very, very good basketball player. Went on to Ouachita Baptist before transferring back, I think, to Harrison, if I'm not mistaken, to North Ark. But he was very good, and he was their best player last year, and now he's gone, and Harrison apparently is better as a team overall. So we'll see how Clarksville can contend with the Harrisons and Almas and Greenbrier, who had some transfers and things like that in the 5A West. 5A is very good. But let's look around the rest of the landscape here in high school basketball, as right now, today actually beginning an Ozark tournament. Now, the schedule that I'm looking at here, Danville says they're playing at Ozark. Now, this is boys, I believe, at Ozark, and Dardanelle is today at Ozark in a tournament. So I think that that's the same tournament, and Dardanelle and Danville both taking part in that beginning today. The Dover boys are at the Clinton tournament from the 27th to the 30th, so that's where they'll be for the rest of this week. The Lamar boys, looks like they're not going to be playing until January 7th. Pottsville begins the Alma Classic. I remember last year was a whole lot of fun for them as they got all the way to the finals and got hosed against Alma. Don't have any problem saying that. I was there, and I watched them get it absolutely ripped away from them. And then the rest of the teams, looks like they're going to be off for a little while. It's a long, long break between when school gets out and January 7th, when a lot of these teams get to go back and play. If they're not playing holiday basketball, they're going to get a lot of running, a lot of practice in, maybe build some chemistry, but they won't get to be on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you can practice, Mark, but the ability to simulate, a game and the pressures and all the things that go with it, you don't really get that in practice. So, I like when teams do schedule something during the break. I know you don't want to interrupt family time and all that good stuff, but it really, especially when you talk about, smaller classes being in the midst of conference play, and then even the bigger classes are going to be entering as soon as they get back to school, you really want to have some type of momentum.
And that's you're right, that you want to work on what, and these coaches, most of them know their team, and they don't want to schedule them to go play in a holiday classic when they know they're not really ready for it, and they'd rather get that action on the practice floor. So we'll see how these teams respond to this long layoff, and some of these teams, how they respond to having a holiday tournament to play in this year. We'll hopefully be reporting on Monday about some really good wins for some of these teams. Maybe the Russellville Cyclones and Lady Cyclones can win the Lyndall Thomas Classic, and the Panthers can win the Spa City Classic. And I would favor Pottsville and Alma to play again in the finals of that tournament. I know Pottsville's playing Greenland today. I think they'll probably get back to the finals against Alma, where all bets are off. I'll just go ahead and say that. If I come back in here on Monday and I tell you that the Pottsville Apaches lost in the finals,
or maybe all bets are on, and that's kind of the problem. Maybe that's what's going on.
You said it, not me. I'm a responsible, objective journalist here. I'm not going to say that Alma will screw you in a second at their place.
That's not what you're saying.
I would not say that ever. Never, ever, ever. All right, we got to hit another break. We've got a lot of stuff left to hit. We'll give you our NFL power rankings, and we may even hit some NBA aside from just the jerseys. But I'd like to see if there's anything new on the Texas coaching search.
I found something. It's kind of interesting. It'll take a little bit of time to go through but I found something.
And then we've got some Hogs. Hogs taking on High Point tomorrow in basketball. Can they get a win over the powerhouse Panthers? Oh, Lord, I don't know. We'll see. The Patsy schedule ends in a couple weeks. I think they've only got 2 more games against the Cupcakes. And that we haven't talked about them since they won the game against South Alabama.
And that was not an easy one, yeah.
We'll look a little bit at that game as well. Plenty more on the Sports Blitz.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peters Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville. Online at petersfamilyliving.com or call 479-968-2929.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on KRK4 today.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
Plenty more stuff to get to today on the Sports Blitz. We've got who will be the next Texas head coach bracket that Weldon found, Sports Illustrated.
Yeah.
Got NFL power rankings we want to get to here in just a moment. Today's CrossFit Russellville poll question: the Arkansas Razorbacks 9-2 basketball team will make the NCAA tournament if. It's an open-ended question for you today. Mark Freeman, Weldon Braxton, Maddie Lassiter inside the Cogswell Motors studios. Let's look real quickly, though, at the NFL. We talked earlier about Tony Romo being out despite his epidural and his best effort to make it back in time for this week's game against it's a NFC East championship game, basically, because the winner goes to the playoffs, the loser goes home, and Dallas looks like they're going to go home. They've got a backup quarterback in Kyle Orton, who, no offense, is not very good. He's a decent backup.
Yeah, good for a backup, but yeah.
Yeah, when you got to replace somebody and then go in your first game action of the year and win a game to get to the playoffs, I don't really trust you.
When you lose out to Tim Tebow, your job.
That's exactly right. This guy got beat out by Tim Tebow. Let's not forget that. So
because remember, Kyle Orton was 1-4, and then Tim Tebow took over, and he went 7-3.
Calm down, Skip.
Okay,
calm down.
All right.
Let's give our power rankings this week. Things are changing around, and you'll see some familiar teams near the top of this, but they're a little jumbled up and changed to me. A big congratulations since the last time we've been on the show to Peyton Manning for breaking the single-season touchdowns record, passing touchdowns record, 51 touchdowns. He said after the game he feels like Tom Brady's probably going to come back and break it next year, but he's humble in that way. But 51 touchdown passes with a game left to go for Peyton Manning. He's just put up some incredible numbers, and I'll just go ahead and tell you now, he's number one in my power rankings because the Denver Broncos.
Not the Broncos. He's number one.
No, forget the Broncos.
Yeah, forget the Broncos.
But Von Miller out for the year, so Peyton Manning, the Fighting Peyton Mannings are atop my power rankings. Got several teams, though, in my I'll just call it my Weldon Braxton honorable mention list because he's the one who puts half the league in his honorable mention list. And then my top 5, it looks pretty similar to what it has. It's just a little jumbled up, a little mixed up based on what have you done for me lately.
Yeah. You going?
Go ahead.
You want me to go? Honorable mention. So many teams I could look at. I'm gonna go ahead.
I've got a bunch of them too, though.
I got the Cincinnati Bengals as my primary honorable mention team. They got back on track. I mean, you play the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, come on. But I got Cincinnati in my honorable mention. Good team, a very talented roster. When Andy Dalton's playing well and their defense is what they can be. I mean, we know about the weapons: AJ Green, Giovanni Bernard. They've got some good receivers. I've got them out just now, but they're almost in. I got to give the Indianapolis Colts some credit. I've been hard on the Colts. I don't trust them. I don't trust their offensive line. I don't trust their defense. Maybe what they did Sunday said more about Kansas City than it did Indianapolis. But the bottom line is I got to at least mention the Indianapolis Colts. Now, for the power rankings. Number 5, I'm going to go with the team who has clinched a playoff spot in the NFC, could win the division with a victory on Sunday, and that's the Carolina Panthers. Their defense is big time, especially at home. Everybody thought Drew Brees and company would come there and put another, not a beat down, but at least go ahead and score enough points to hold off Carolina. Panthers held them off, and they've clinched a playoff spot, so good job, Carolina. Number 4, I got the New England Patriots. I don't think Joe Flacco was anywhere near 100%. I think that knee was bothering him, but at the same time, New England's defense showed up at Baltimore, and Baltimore has given the Patriots problems over the years, and New England just flat out took them outside and beat them down. Was it 41, 42-7, something along those lines? With Tom Brady as your quarterback, you always have a chance to go to a Super Bowl, and I don't think this year is any different. Number 3, and maybe I'm just being critical, but offensively, I was very disappointed with what I saw from the Seattle Seahawks against the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona's defense is better than what people think, but at the same time, I've been bragging on Russell Wilson, been bragging on this offense for making the steps, trying to support that defense. Did not like what I saw. It really tells me that in spite of that loud crowd, if somebody comes in with a physical defense and puts pressure on that offense, maybe there is a chink in that 12th man armor. At least it opens the door. Number 2, I got San Francisco. They're starting to roll right now. They're still not explosive. Even though Crabtree is back, they still don't have any big play type dynamic guys. But what they do have, consistent West Coast passing game, physical running game. They can run the ball in so many different ways, so many formations. San Francisco 2, and I got to round it out with the Denver Broncos, number 1. Yeah, Von Miller is out. Peyton Manning will have to score points in the playoffs, but Wes Welker should be back, if not for this game, for the first playoff game for sure. You got Peyton Manning, really nothing else to say.
We both have Denver atop our power rankings, but then we kind of differ, which is good because there are good reasons for having any of these teams in a top 5 position. I do see several teams that I've got in my honorable mention that either you mentioned or you didn't. New Orleans, they're out of my power rankings just because if they're not at home and they're not clicking on all cylinders, I just don't trust them to beat a team in the playoffs when everything matters, every possession, every stop matters. Cincinnati got a chance to play for the 2 seed this week. Got to have them in the honorable mention. Kansas City, I just don't know. I don't trust them. A good defense, but, I don't know that they're going to be able to put up enough points to beat anybody good. Indianapolis got a big win this last week. Arizona, I did not somebody asked me what their record was. I said, yeah, they're hovering around 500, and I looked up, and they're like 9-4. I was like, well, I was a little off on that. So they've quietly snuck under the radar and played very well this year. And then one more team who I know that they're not quite, and you mentioned them earlier, they're not quite a powerhouse, but they are at least on the radar, and they're a team that deserves honorable mention. The Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah. That offense is going to be able to put up some points. I'm not sure that they're going to be able to beat anybody in the playoffs, but they have come around a little bit since Nick Foles has taken over. I say a little bit. They're going to make the playoffs and have a chance, so it's more than I can say for my Cowboys. But as we move on to the power rankings, at number 5, I've got the New England Patriots. About the highest that you'll see them for me until they win the Super Bowl. And, you know how it is. You
still won't put them up there.
They'll be number 3 on my list. But Gronk being out, I don't know that I can see them moving up. The only reason that they're in this top 5 is because there's only one other AFC team in it, And if you're going to have the Denver Broncos, there's going to be somebody that they're going to play in the quote-unquote Final Four, in the semifinals, in the conference championship game. So New England Patriots sort of by default there, just because I trust them a little bit more than I do Kansas City or Cincinnati or Indianapolis. At number 4, I've got the San Francisco 49ers, simply because Carolina has looked so good, and I've got Carolina at number 3.
And Carolina did beat them.
And so San Francisco, although they are good, like you mentioned, lack of offensive threat, which is kind of surprising to me, because watching Colin Kaepernick last year, you thought they may have revolutionized the league with a guy who's got a rocket arm and can be accurate, and then he can get out of the pocket, and the zone read stuff is just going to be tough to handle. But Colin Kaepernick's kind of regressed to the mean, so to speak, this year, and it hasn't hurt. No, it hasn't helped. They've had so many injuries that have limited them chemistry-wise offensively. So I've got San Francisco at number 4, Carolina with that defense. Luke Kuechly had 24 tackles
big time
last week. He's just everywhere. He's one of those really smart linebackers who's just always around the ball, and he's been very good. Cam Newton has been good enough. When it counts, last week I saw somebody tweet right before the last drive that Cam Newton has been so disappointing, and this is his career in a nutshell. And then he leads them on a game-winning drive, and it kind of shuts everybody up. So I've got Carolina at number 3, mostly because of that defense. 2, Seattle, and another reason that I have them there is because I've got Seattle at number 2 because of that home field advantage. But like you mentioned, maybe there's a little bit of a chink in that armor, and if there is a team like San Francisco, who went up there and got whipped this year, that's sort of built to go up there and withstand it, it's going to be a team with a really good defense who can put a really good defense up against a really good defense and keep the game close, and that's Carolina, in my opinion. So I've got Seattle at number 2. I've got Denver at number 1. I do still feel like it's Seattle and Denver's Super Bowl berth to lose.
Yeah, I agree with you on Carolina. I agree with the way to beat Seattle, the model to beat Seattle. I know some people think, well, if you can come in with an offense and maybe score points on that defense and make that offense have to match in a high-scoring game, I just don't see that being the way. I think you need to come in and you need to shut down Seattle's offense, put some pressure on that defense to get stops. I think that's the way to do it. Maybe even force some turnovers. I don't think anybody can get Seattle in a shootout. I know that sounds like the thing to try to do, but I don't think you can get Seattle in a shootout. So, it is. I'll give you a team, Mark, that I don't even have an honorable mention because they may not even make the playoffs. But if I'm in the AFC, there is a team that I'm a little bit worried about, and that's the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
Because
if they win, they will have won 6 of 8.
They will have won 6 of 8. Yeah, they'll be an 8-8 team, and that defense is older. I'll give you all of that. But Big Ben and Todd Haley have found some common ground. I'm sure they still disagree on quite a bit. But with Big Ben, he's one of those guys that I never mention with my elites. But you talk about somebody who's always capable of playing like an elite during a playoff stretch. It's Big Ben Roethlisberger. Watch out for Pittsburgh, but they got to get in first.
Yeah, that's a big question, big if. Let's look real quickly before we hit a break at switching gears, college football, to the Texas head coaching search. We haven't heard a whole lot of news on it. I feel like it's going to be another 2 weeks before we hear a whole lot of news because you'll have to wait till some of these teams' season ends, and really it may just be 1 week before we hear something after some of these teams' seasons end. But I saw a Sports Illustrated bracket that Weldon sent me about who will be the next head coach, and there's 32 names, 4 bracket polls or bracket positions, 8 coaches in each one. Nick Saban, John Gruden, David Shaw, and Charlie Strong as the 1 seeds. Got some funny division names. And I just real quickly, what steps out to me is that Nick Saban, a 1 seed in the Paul division. Don't know what that's really supposed to mean, but I'm sure it means something to Texas fans. Beat in the second round by James Franklin. That's got to be considered an upset.
Yeah.
And then guys like John Gruden and Charlie Strong being in the one line there. Charlie Strong in the ain't played nobody division. It seems like they've got Art Briles and Jim Harbaugh in the battle to be the next Texas head coach.
And I think Art Briles is really an interesting name, and he signed an extension with Baylor. Obviously, so that's going to raise the price to get him out of town. But we know with Texas, they don't mind. I think there's a lot of people in the state of Texas. I think high school coaches would love to see Art Briles because he's one of them. He is a Texas high school coach. He got the Baylor job, and I think they feel like they'd have one of them in place. I think this is a critical hire for Texas market for obvious reasons, but you just look around. I think we're now in a generation to where you have to have a football guy. I know you need somebody with charisma to work the rubber chicken circuit and raise money. I know that's important. But at the same time, we're in a generation where there's a reason why Baylor is now on the same plane, if not ahead of Texas in terms of the status of their program, because Baylor is out there innovative, they're cutting edge, they're always pushing the envelope to do something to level the playing field, and they've successfully done that. And a lot of these schools with lesser resources are doing things to level the playing field. With Texas, if you're Texas, you got to raise the bar even more, take advantage of what you have. So I think they need a football type guy. Jim Harbaugh and Art Briles certainly qualify for that in my book.
Yeah, Art Briles, you mentioned him signing an extension. Nick Saban sitting over there in Alabama saying, every one of y'all, go ahead and sign yourselves an extension, sign yourself a big buyout, and just run the number up that Alabama's going to have to pay to keep me, or the number that Texas will be able to offer me because of what they'd have to pay to get you out. And, they'll put the numbers, the pen to paper, and they'll say, okay, well, we could get Art Briles for this much, or we could get Nick Saban for this much. Is it worth it to spend that difference? And when it's Nick Saban versus literally anybody else, it's going to be worth it. So if I'm Nick Saban, I'm sitting over there counting my Benjamins and my I don't know how they'll do it. They'd have to give him some more money, but he's already signed this contract. Looks like that he's going to be making $7+ million next year anyway. So we'll see who comes out of this Texas head coaching search. It's always fun to watch the first domino fall and then see who goes where.
Yeah.
I think Arkansas is pretty well safe with most of its coaches being intact. Although Charlie Partridge is gone, I don't think that any of the other guys are going to go and take head coaching gigs at smaller schools unless somebody just makes a jump. Maybe somebody in the ain't played nobody division.
Yeah, they ain't played.
That's really funny.
I don't appreciate, and tell this is a Big 12 person, I don't appreciate seeing Kevin Sumlin in that region.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Yeah, that sounds like some SEC hate as far as I'm concerned. But real quick, do you see an NFL coach? Or are you ruling out all NFL coaches, or can you see one?
No, I could see a Jim. Apparently, Jim Harbaugh is.
He don't shut the door.
He's not shut it down. And John Gruden, somebody said that was a quote I saw on Twitter about him being the best tire kicking coach in the history of coaching. He'll go out there and he'll say or he'll have his people relay a word that I'd be interested in that, and then it gets him either more money or at least a little more exposure. And ESPN, as long as he stays, is saying go ahead and do what you want, make your name mentioned in every single one of them. That way, we get this guy who keeps staying with us, and it makes us look a little better. But yeah, I could see a certain number. Mike Tomlin doesn't make the playoffs and they come after him. Maybe he consider it. I don't know. He seems more like a professional guy than a college coach, but
former ASU
Jim Harbaugh,
secondary coach.
Mike Tomlin, Jim Harbaugh, a couple of those guys I could see possibly being in the mix. But yeah, I think it's going to be a college-heavy search though, so we'll see. Maybe Chip Kelly, I doubt that because he's going to make the playoffs. But all right, we got to hit a break. We've only got a couple minutes left when we come back on the other side of this break to look at our poll question. And the Arkansas Razorback basketball team got a big win over South Alabama. They play High Point tomorrow. We'll look at that right after the break.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peters Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville. Online at petersfamilyliving.com or call 479-968-2929.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on KRK4 today.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
Today's CrossFit Russellville poll question: the Arkansas Razorbacks will make the NCAA tournament if? Ask an open-ended question, and we want to deal with that here in just a moment. We got a couple answers. Corey Thone, who you may be able to hear here in just the next couple weeks with the Woodshed Arkansas Tech radio show that's going to make its way to RiverValleyLeader.com here in the near future. He answered and said if the Hogs can win 4 to 5 road games and have no more than 2 home losses, that'll be a tall test because they're going to play, I believe they're playing Florida and Kentucky both at home, right?
Yes.
And then they'll play Missouri, right, at home?
Right.
So that's a chance right there for 3. So that means you'd have beat a really, really good team, or beaten a really good team, at least one, to stay under that 2 losses or right at that 2 losses at home. And then you'll take care of your business against everyone else. So that's a good answer. But the Hogs right now, 9-2. And they're looking to take on High Point Saturday. They got a good win against South Alabama on this, I guess it was last Saturday, the 21st. So it's been a little while now, but the Hogs got a quality win against a at least decent opponent.
Yeah, probably one of the better ones of this slate of games we'll see. South Alabama's a team who, they played Gonzaga well. Defensively, they held Gonzaga down. Of course, if you're a Razorback fan, you saw what they did in Maui against Arkansas. I mean, Gonzaga offensively is really good. South Alabama defensively matched them pretty much all along the way. And, it wasn't the prettiest game for Arkansas. Shots weren't going down frequently. You had some issues here and there, but their defense is what ultimately allowed them to hold down South Alabama. So I give Arkansas credit for that. That's not a game I look at and say, I'm concerned about or that one makes me pause. It's Little Rock. You got one foot out the door wanting to go home for Christmas and what have you. Good win for Arkansas.
To just sort of recap the game and bring it back to your attention, Arkansas 10 steals, 8 blocks, and forced 20 turnovers overall by South Alabama. And then looking at the box score here, you got 15 points from Bobby Portis, who recalling back, it's been a little while now. Very good game from Bobby Portis. He's just coming to his own every single game. 12 points from Kai Madden, who he's been a revelation for this team. I've really liked what I've seen from him so far. I've just been waiting on a 6'6" point guard to play up to his potential because, he's got what a lot of people wish they had as far as an athletic, big body from a point guard, a guy who can handle the ball, and his shot's finally going, so that's good to see. Michael Qualls, 11 points, and then 10 points for Alandis Harris. Cody Clark led the team in rebounds with 8. You had 2 blocks from him as well, 3 blocks from Alandis Harris, 2 blocks from Moses Kingsley. So they were protecting the rim, protecting the paint. 3 steals from Michael Qualls, 2 from Kai Madden. So they're not quite getting the full court press, turnovers, fastest 40 minutes type effort yet. No, I'm not saying that they're not putting out the effort. They're not getting all those steals, but I believe it was the South Alabama coach who said they play like the house is on fire and they got to get everything out. That's sort of an accurate representation of this team because when you've got 12 guys who can go, there's no excuse not to just go all out the whole time and then just, you're going to get 3 or 4 minutes in, you're going to get a blow, somebody else is going to come in and get you. So you might as well just go put the pedal to the metal since that's the Arkansas way. 72-60 would lend one to believe that it wasn't that much of a run and gun type game, but it's because, South Alabama shot 35%.
Right.
Arkansas shot 48%, which is all right. And Arkansas made 17 free throws in the game. So, it wasn't quite a 99-98 type basketball game like you might have seen back in the day, or a 120-80 game like you might have seen it under Nolan Richardson. But I like where Arkansas is kind of building to.
Yeah, and if you watch that game, Mark, Arkansas's pressure definitely had an impact.
Oh, yeah.
You saw the frustration. If you looked at the faces of some South Alabama players, clearly the pressure was getting to them. And Arkansas, Mark, rumor has it they also won something this game. There was a bronze statue of John Pelfrey, and the winner got it. This is the John Pelfrey Bowl Game Championship title, and Arkansas was able to win it against South Alabama. So congratulations to the Hogs for that. But, Mark, I do want to answer our CrossFit Russellville poll question before we get out of here about Arkansas making the NCAA tournament, what they need to do to be able to do that. I do agree with the response in terms of, road games you need to win and how many home games you need to lose, no more than that number. And I think it will be important for Arkansas to get somewhere around 4 road wins. I think they'll need to do that. But on a micro level, as just looking at this team and what needs to happen, we need to see Anthlon Bell shoot the ball like he's capable of shooting it. That is something that Arkansas is really missing, because the thing with Bell is you want him in the rotation. You know he can shoot, but the bottom line is at this point, early in his sophomore year, he's not giving you a whole lot else other than shooting. Not a great ball handler, not a great defender, not a great passer. And so if he's not hitting shots, there's really no reason to have him on the floor, but he's capable, so you leave him out there and let him shoot through it. But I think if Arkansas can consistently get perimeter shooting, mainly from Anthlon Bell, I think that'll help them be in a good situation because Arkansas doesn't have a true floor general point guard. You can't create one overnight. That's just how it's going to be this year. So you can do things to work around it, ball movement, playing inside out, shooting the ball well. I think that's how they get around it. I think if Bell comes online and shoots like we think he can, that's going to help Arkansas get over the top.
I think Arkansas can win more than 4 games on the road. I'm not saying they're going to, but looking at this schedule, if they beat A&M on the road, wouldn't surprise me at all. A&M 8-3 right now. That's the first game of the conference slate. If they beat Georgia on the road, Georgia's 6-4. I wouldn't be surprised. Alabama 5-6.
Right.
Mississippi State, who is 9-3. I wouldn't be surprised if they beat some of these teams on the road. And there are other road wins to be had. Vanderbilt, not as good as they've been in years past. So they've got chances to beat some, teams.
Right.
I do feel like they're going to get more than 1 road win this year. I think that's almost a guarantee with the way this team's built. You got guys like Alandis Harris and Bobby Portis, who one of them is tough enough to know better, and one of them's too young to know that you're not supposed to win on the road. So I think Arkansas is going to get some road wins this year. I could see at least 4 road wins, which I think was what Corey mentioned being a key. You're probably going to have to offset the fact that Bud Walton has been such a huge advantage for you, but you can't count on winning every single game there to keep yourself in
Right.
consideration for a tournament. I think they'll win some more games on the road. I do think they'll probably lose some games at home.
Probably so, and I think you look at Arkansas's road woes, Mark. A lot of people think it's some type of curse or some type of fix or something. It's got a lot to do with your team just not being all that great. I mean, that was a big reason for your road woes. Yes, there is an energy element at home. I grant you that. But if you're not a very good team, yeah, it's going to be difficult to win on the road anyway. So I'm with you. With the games they have, the fact that this is a better team than Arkansas has had over the last few years, that alone is going to help them win road games, not lifting some magic curse that I think a lot of us think Arkansas has on the road.
And looking at the schedule, they've got some tough games at home. Their first 2 home games in the conference are against Florida and Kentucky. And that's not fun. And then the next home game they've got, after Auburn, the second home game they've got after that tough stretch is against 25th ranked Missouri. They play LSU, who's been a traditional tough team for Arkansas to face, and then they play Mississippi on March 5th toward the end of the season, the Fighting Marshall Hendersons in their home finale. So they've got some tough ones at home too. I think they'll probably split the difference as far as winning some more games on the road, lose a couple more at home, and be right there in the conversation for an NCAA tournament berth, where it'll kind of depend on who they beat. If they can beat one of these Florida, Kentucky, type teams at home, and then go and get a couple more road wins, they'll have a chance to be right there in the conversation for the NCAA tournament. I do think that it's a big deal that Arkansas makes some sort of postseason this year. NIT, I'd be okay with. NCAA tournament is obviously the goal.
Oh, I agree with you 100%, Mark. I think this team is capable. And again, you just look at Arkansas, they're going to be one of those teams that you just know it. Even though there's several games to be played, they will be one of those teams, I think, on Selection Sunday where you look back at, man, if they could have won those 1 or 2 games, they could have been in, or, wow, winning those 1 or 2 games here and here is what put them in. I think Arkansas will be in that position.
Wesley Domaris' final answer here to the CrossFit Russellville poll question. He said that simply Arkansas will make the NCAA tournament if they continue to make buckets from behind the three-point line. I think shooting consistently will be a big deal, making free throws and really just playing poised on the road down the stretch, real just poised at all down the stretch will be a big deal for the Arkansas Razorback basketball team. Man, we had a good show today. We appreciate you joining us. Sorry we had some holiday issues going on this week and we weren't able to be here all week, but we tried to cram as much as we could into our hour, and I feel like we did a pretty good job. So we'll be back on Monday with more Sports Blitz. For Weldon and Maddie, I'm Mark saying so long, and we'll see you at 11 o'clock Monday at rivervalleyleader.com.